And I think that, one of the biggest questions someone has on their mind when they decide they want to buy a business is, well, what kind of business can I buy? How large of a business can I buy? What type of industry can I get into based on my experience? So I'm really curious to hear from you. For someone who's interested in buying a business, what advice do you have for them as far as figuring out what type of deal is going to be the best fit? They're looking at their personal financial statement, how much money they have in their bank, their assets, they're looking at their experience. How do they narrow down what they should be focusing on as far as their first acquisition?
Yeah, of course. So, a couple of large factors that I look for are going to be relatable experience, and then liquidity is a big driver of this. And so when I'm working with buyers and kind of educating them on the process, and either they're working on an LOI or not, um, something that I ask everybody is why this business and why now? And so the reason I do that is, of course, to have general understanding. But if the response is, well, I like this business because it generates X multiple of EBITDA, it's probably not going to be a good fit because I need that individual to have passion in that business. That is going to be something that they're going to purchase and operate. Now, don't get me wrong. The multiple of EBITDA is important and it's certainly a factor. But I, when I'm working with business buyers, I want them to be invested and engaged in the operations of that business because that's only going to help amplify that multiple of EBITDA after they purchase it. And so I really want to get a gauge on what relatable experience we have, whether it be management, industry, or both. And then we can get into the numbers and making sure that it makes sense and that they're offering what's needed in the transaction.
That totally makes sense. I absolutely agree. I also kind of hear alarm bells when I hear borrowers focusing only on the financials. The financials are obviously a relevant component, obviously, right? But are you a good fit for this business and are you going to be able to operate it is really the question. Let's get a little more specifically into liquidity. What are you looking for as a lender? Someone brings you a potential deal, you're looking at their personal financial statement. Do you have a certain percentage, certain number in mind that you want to see a borrower have?
Yep. So when looking at these business purchases, the overlying theme that's important to remember is that you need to have skin in the game. Now, I know that's very vague and can be transaction specific, but if an individual is wanting to buy a $5 million business and putting in $10,000, that's not skin in the game. And so for us, for me and for us at Truliant, we just take a common sense approach of like, is this a meaningful investment for this individual? So, on $1 million transaction, maybe that is, 50 grand, and then the rest is funded by seller note or investors or some combination of both. Um, but it comes down to is that we need to have some level of skin in the game from that individual, and make sure that it's meaningful to them and meaningful to the transaction. Now, that said, post-close liquidity is a big factor. So if that number that we identify is everything, that's also a problem because what hap- what happens if and this isn't even a business issue, but what happens if 3 weeks after you buy the business, um, your air conditioner goes out and it's going to be 5 grand? What are you going to do? Are you going to take money from the business that we just loaned you in working capital because you don't have the liquidity? Those are some of the considerations that we're taking as a lender to make sure that we're not only setting up the business and the loan for the best security, but you personally. You're our customer, and we want you to do well. That's why we're providing financing. And so, a big factor is making sure that you do have sufficient post-close liquidity uh, to safeguard against any bumps in the road, and that may even be a personal bump in the road.
So if you've got a business that you're interested in getting financing for, check out my show notes to see how you can get in touch with me to discuss the deal.